Welcome back to Music Talk. I'm Abbott.
I'm Costello. And that's Daisy in the window behind me.
She's always got to jump in there. You see her face looking at you like, what are you doing? All right, so this week we're going to do Skunk Baxter. I've been looking forward to this, man. When I heard he was doing a solo record, I was like, man, I cannot wait to hear this. I mean, look at the backboard. You know, you're talking about a professor here, right? I mean, the guy worked for the Defense Department, you know. So Skunk Baxter, Speed of Heat. That's the front. Here's the back. That's him with C.J. Vanston, who pretty much these two did 90% of what you hear on the record.
Mm-hmm.
Inside cover, pretty simple. He's got a little, explanation about stuff and his little clear Strat body guitar there that he's peering at you.
Years, man. He's had years.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him play that back in the 70s, man.
Yeah. I think he might have actually made it. So this is a CD. It's got the flaming Strat on there. Pretty cool. And so the insert looks like this. He's got neon lights shining through the guitar, clear body. There he is playing his electric acoustic, whatever you want to call it. And here he is, some pictures of him playing a little bit of everything, and CJ in there playing some stuff. And then here you got who did what on each song. And that's about it. The whole cover opens up like this. You get to see a better picture of it like that. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, man, I was very happy about this record. I was excited when I heard it was coming out, and I was not disappointed when I put it on. I mean, there's a couple songs on here, and I'll discuss, but I wish they weren't on here. But anyway, other than that, I think the record was a pretty great record, man. Started out, we'll go right into it, and the first track is Ladies from Hell. And basically, he wanted to do an ode to his Scottish heritage, which I'm cool with because we have a little bit of that in us as well. So we're kind of Scottish. So Ladies from Hell is really a term coined by the German soldiers that called the Scottish soldiers ladies from hell because they wore kilts. So when they were in battle, they'd see them coming. They're like, oh, those are the ladies from hell. So that's why you get the bagpipe intro. So he said he started on the moors. He takes you through, and then he ends with the Black Watch looking over the hill and then back to the moors again. So basically it's just a tribute to the ladies from hell, the battle regiment. So, which I thought was super cool. And you had the bagpipes, which normally I'm not really a big fan of bagpipes, but man, it worked perfect in this song. You had the marching and everything. It was pretty great, man. I was really happy about that song. I didn't think I was going to like it when it first started. Man, it came out and it just smacked me. I'm like, wow, this is really good. Guitar playing was great. You had the great rhythms going on in there. Here you had a guy named Joe Pusateri on drums. He's played with a lot of people. He's one of them studio guys, so he's been around. C.J. Vanston, he's pretty much playing everything on here, with the exception of the guitar. So number 2 we get to is My Old School, basically a remake. And this has got David Paich on organ, from Toto.
Right, Toto. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the drummer on this plays pretty much most of the songs with the exception of 3. And this guy's name is Tos Panos. He's known for playing with Dweezil, Steve Vai, Robin Ford, you name it. He's played with a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. So the funny thing about this one is when he did this song, he originally wanted Steven Tyler to sing it. So he did the demo and sent it over to him. And Steven Tyler listened to it and he said, well, who's singing it now? And he said, me. He said, well, why don't you just sing it on your record? He said, well, I could, but I was kind of wanting you to do it. He said, no, I think you should do it. So then Skunk went back and put the vocal track back on there, and he sung it himself, which I didn't even know it was Skunk. I had to go research it because it's not even in the credit that he sings this song. I couldn't figure out who it was. So I finally found it out, and I was like, "Well, dang, man," because he said that he used to sing this with Steely Dan occasionally.
You'd be amazed at what side musicians do. It's just like I give you a quick reference. When I was running around in Nashville, you know, between going out on the road, ran into this bass player. That was George Jones's bass player.
Yeah.
Okay, so come to find out, the biggest reason why he was hired wasn't because of his bass playing so much as the fact that he sounds like George Jones when he sings.
When he sings, yeah.
When the old possum get up there and be too drunk to sing, they turn his volume off and turn the bass player's volume up,
and let him sing it. Yeah,
he covered doing the lead.
yeah,
You know, it's like, okay, that's not too heavy of a load to carry.
right. And my old school, I'm sure they played it so many times live that they were like, you take a verse, Skunk, and Skunk would sing a verse, so no big deal to him. So yeah. So that I thought it was pretty funny that Steven Tyler told him that he should do it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of funny. I got some reservations on that.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't bad. I thought he sang it well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite, I mean, the rhythm on this was pretty much identical, but the guitar solos were changed, and then you had David Paich from Toto doing the organ solo on there, which I thought was pretty cool.
Which I'm going to point something out about David Paich. Okay. Everybody talks about Elton John having short and stubby fingers. I don't know if you've ever looked at David Paich's fingers when he's playing.
Yeah.
I mean, the man has got chubby pickle fingers.
But he can play.
Oh my God. It's like if I was to walk up and shake the man's hand in his front yard, I'd never guess that he could play keyboards, because his hands do not look like something that belongs to a keyboard player.
It's funny. I know. It gives me hope, right? So number 3 is Juliet. And basically this had a bunch of drum programming in it, but it did have a nice little acoustic solo. I wasn't big on this one. To me, it reminded me of a demo song on your keyboard. You push the demo button and that's what it sounded like. And then he played a guitar track over it. So I wasn't, this one to me was one of the weak ones on here. But so we get to number 4, and this one I love. This is called I Can Do Without. And the reason I like this one so much is because it's got Johnny Lang on it. And I love Johnny Lang. And I don't know if you've ever seen Johnny Lang live or anything. I've seen him open up for Buddy Guy, and man, what a great show. Johnny Lang is a great blues guitarist. He's got that voice, and man, I just thought it was great. The only thing I didn't like about this song was it had this cheesy keyboard sound in it.
Yeah, they're all from that same school where Danny Gatton was, and Robert Gordon, Roy Buchanan, that whole genre that I just wish people would have discovered years ago. Right. It seems like they're just now discovering these people.
Right.
And it's like, that's a whole world of music right there that is just be almost totally untouched at one time.
I know. And Johnny Lang, man, his voice is so good. It's perfect for blues, and they were trading solos in there when they were doing the solos. You could tell who was playing which one. It was so great. I thought it was a fantastic song. One of my favorites on the record. So the exception of the cheesy keyboard sound.
Well, the thing about Skunk Baxter though, Skunk Baxter's been around for so long, man. Mm-hmm. He has crossed so many genres with his music, and and worked with the best in the industry and created the best in the industry.
Well, check this out. At one time, he was playing for Steely Dan, the Doobie Brothers, and Linda Ronstadt at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason he left Steely Dan, he said, because they quit touring. So Doobies were like, well, then just come on with us. We're already part of us basically anyway.
Right.
So then he went with the Doobies, and then he decided he needed a change of that. So he kind of went on and did something else after that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, he did all the steel work on Linda Ronstadt stuff. So yeah, he's been around, and like you said, played for the best,
Played for the best. And I mean, let me tell you something, man. You walk on stage at that time with Linda Ronstadt. I mean, you're on stage with Waddy Wachtel. I mean, that was the whole A-team,
Well, I'll elaborate on something even later that you need to check out if you haven't already. But I'll get to that after we go through the whole review and we talk a little bit more about Skunk. So
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, you had them all. Linda Ronstadt, I mean, she produced some
my God.
people through her band.
The Eagles. I mean, she told them to go form their own band and take off, you know.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
So you want to credit somebody with putting the Eagles on the map?
Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt.
Absolutely. So then we get to song number 5, which is Do It Again. And it is the Steely Dan song, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
I didn't really hardly even recognize it other than the little chorus part.
Well, a little footnote on that too. Now, see, a lot of people think Skunk Baxter did the riff on Reeling in the Years. It wasn't Skunk Baxter. It was another guitar player. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, he mentioned him in his interview. But
Skunk was on the record,
mm-hmm.
but he was not the person playing the riff. You know?
All right, so now we get to number 6. And honestly, number 6 is the reason why he did this record. It's called Apache, right? So everybody's heard this song before somehow or another. It's been recorded by many people. But he said, what's that?
I used to play this song with Wayne Beckner.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine everybody did, right? It originally was written by Jerry Lorden, and it was inspired off of the movie. It wasn't written for the movie, but it was inspired by the movie Apache.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then, the Shadows put it out in the 60s, and from there, it's been covered by a lot of people. And I'm sure if you hear that riff, you've heard it before, anybody that listens to it. But he said the reason he wanted to do his solo album was because he wanted to originally just do an instrumental just because he wanted to record Apache. That was why he did this record, was for just that song. And he tears it up, man. I mean, he rips it apart. So, but then they started talking about it with him and CJ, which CJ Vanston, he's like a film composer, but he's also collaborated as a songwriter with a bunch of people like Prince. He's done stuff with Ringo, Def Leppard, bunch of stuff. So anyway, they were like, well, let's see what we can put together. And he said, well, okay. So he started asking other artists, but the only thing he had 2 rules. One was anybody that comes on the record with him, they have to co-write the song, and it can't be anything they've ever done before. So that was his 2 rules going into this record with other artists. And everything you hear is all, with the exception of the 4 cover tunes, is all written. So all the special guests on here, they wrote these songs together.
Cool.
But anyway, that's just a little something about Apache. Then we get to number 7, is My Place in the Sun, which is Michael McDonald singing, no doubt about it. And they have him credited as acoustic guitar, but they don't have him playing the piano on it, which I was surprised.
He probably didn't. He probably just walked in and did the vocals.
Yeah, he came in, did the vocals and a little acoustic guitar. But his vocal on this, to me, was stellar. I mean, it was a great vocal track.
Yeah, he might have even done it at his home studio.
Yeah, I'm not sure where, but man, the song, it's a great song. I really like the song. And I liked his vocal work on it too. I mean, I think he hit some stuff that I didn't even know he could still hit.
Well, see, I'm gonna interject something here about Michael McDonald. One thing that I believe about Michael McDonald, he was an accidental star. And what I mean by that is when he joined Steely Dan, they hired him for his vocal work. It wasn't about his piano.
Yeah.
And although he still sat down and played piano.
Yeah.
And through that, he became a mega star.
Well,
I mean, and it was also because of the fact too of his work with Doobie Brothers.
Well, Skunk actually said he's the one that brought Michael McDonald to the Doobie Brothers.
Right.
So, right, because he was already playing on some of their records, and then he brought Michael McDonald in.
It's already intermingling. Mm-hmm. But the one thing I'm going to say about Michael McDonald, I've never seen the man act like he was a star. Number one.
No, very humble.
Yeah, he always appears very humble and always appears very excited to be involved with whatever it is he's doing, you know, and that to me, that speaks volumes. It's like, okay, you know.
Yeah. But that voice, man, is so soulful too, man.
Well, it's soulful and it sounds like singing at one time.
Yeah, it does.
You know, I mean, you want to fill a song up, you only have two singers, put Michael McDonald in the background.
Well, when he was on that last Doobie Brother album that we did, he did the backups for it, and it was like a whole chorus back there. Remember?
Yeah, I know, and it's
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously he hangs out around the Memphis area quite a bit, because I know when he opened up for Steely Dan a few years back, he had this girl playing drums. Her name is Baby Girl. That was her name. And she was out of Memphis. When he introduced her, he goes, "Here's my new drummer from Memphis."
Yeah. Well, this, Skunk Studios in Tennessee too. So I'm sure they're all right there. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, now we get to number 8. And I really wish they would have never put this song on this record. It's The Rose.
Oh, yeah.
I think he wanted to play the steel on something, obviously. But man, I really didn't like this song at all.
There's plenty of songs he could have played steel.
I know. I don't know why he chose this one.
I think The Rose, and I'm only gonna. The only reason why I'm saying this, and I've been around steel players all my life, and reality is, the Skunk Baxter is very intermediate on steel guitar. So The Rose was probably something that was dear to somebody he knew, and was also probably pretty easy to play, because it did not involve a lot of movement or anything, right, as far as looking at major chord changes and everything else. I mean, it's not like he's playing a double neck 10 or 12,
right,
with 8 on the floor and 6 knee levers. I mean, I
really wish he wouldn't have put it on here. It was, to me, the worst song on the record.
So. Well, I got Bette Midler did The Rose. It's been done. Should have been left alone.
Should have been left alone.
I mean, we used to do the song at the bank. I got tired of the song.
It definitely falls in one of them categories. Like, don't do this one again. Just leave it. Just leave it like it is.
Like Color My World.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, then we get to number 9, which is called Bad Move. And do you know who sang on this one? Could you tell who it was?
I couldn't tell who it was, but once I read the credit, it makes sense.
Yeah. So it's Clint Black. Yeah. So Clint Black sings it, plays the guitar, wrote it with him again. This is a new song. And it's actually a little bit out of Clint Black's box, in my opinion, because it's more of a poppy rock than it is a country, right?
Yep.
So, but I thought it was good. It had some great guitar solos in it, man. And I mean, I thought it was a good song. And I'm, not a Clint Black. I'm not much on, I don't really know much about Clint Black, other than I've heard him in some of his songs, but I really don't know much about him. I know he put out an album in 2020. So
yeah, he kind of hung on to the he was on the outer edges of the outlaw stuff, went right at the very end, and then kind of grabbed a hold when George Strait was taking on the country music era. Clint, to me,
he's been around since what, say 90s?
Earlier than that.
Earlier than that, 80s?
Yeah. Somewhere in the 80s was when I first started hearing about him.
Mm-hmm.
But he never made that, to me, he never made that big impression.
Yeah.
And then Garth Brooks came along and took away the whole show from everybody.
Right. And I've never heard anything bad about Clint Black, though.
No, he's great. He's a great entertainer, man. It's like, okay, how much have you heard about Mark Chestnut?
Yeah, I know, right?
So
I always kind of put Clint Black on the George Strait level, kind of like similar to George Strait a little bit. Maybe. Alan Jackson area,
I just think he's pretty much more. I mean, maybe the era of the type of songs that George Jones was doing. Yeah.
Not Jones, George Strait. Yeah.
I mean, George Strait.
Right.
But
they all kind of came up at the same time, right? George Strait, Clint Black, Alan Jackson.
Yeah, you had Clint Black, Keith Whitley, which passed away way too soon. I mean, to me, he was the next George Jones, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think it was a DUI that got him. He was driving drunk, and I believe, I don't know, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that's what ended him. But he was one of those that came up through the Ralph Stanley School, and yeah, I was shocked when I saw Clint Black's name on the Skunk Baxter album. I'm like, okay.
Me too. And I didn't know maybe he had done something with him in the past. I'm not sure.
Thing though, these session musicians, Vinny Colaiuta, back in the 80s and the early 90s was the session drummer that everybody was using. Country, exactly. It didn't matter.
And Skunk was a studio guy, even though he says he prefers playing live. He was still one of those guys in the studio. He just did it both. He did everything.
Yeah. I prefer live.
Yeah, me too.
I prefer live, and just because I ain't a session musician.
Yeah.
Don't tell.
So then we get to number 10, which is Giselle. This is a little mellow song. I didn't really like the drum programming in it. I wish they would have used a drummer. They had drummers. They should have used them. I'm not a big fan of drum programming unless it's to enhance what you're doing. But to use it as the whole rhythm, I don't like it at all.
I think to me, what winds up with the drum tracking is they do it as an artist, guitarist, or piano player and sing over top of it and go, well, you know what, this sounds okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Yeah.
And I get it. But you know what? It doesn't take a whole lot.
No.
To pick a phone up and say, hey, you want to lay a drum track down for me? And most every drummer that is capable of doing that has their own little house studio. Yeah. So you know what? Pick up the phone, you download the whole thing and just email it to them. Let them sit there and do their thing, and they will email it right back. And there you go.
And you had two great drummers already on the whole record. You could have easily just say, hey, here's one more track, throw this one on there, so
I don't know, maybe the budget was a little thin.
Could be. So then we get to number 11, which is a song called Insecurity. And this one I want to talk a little bit about it, but it was written by a guy named Tim Torrance, who gave it to Skunk a long time ago, which is why it kind of sounds 80s 90-ish, right? But the singer on this, Rick Livingstone, or Livingston, however you want to say it, he's done a lot of soundtrack stuff and everything, but well, first of all, the song to me was pretty funky, had a funky groove. I really dug it. I think it had a little cheesy keyboard thing going on. Again, we get those cheesy key sounds, which I've been complaining about the whole record, but I do like it. I think it had a funky groove. But what I was going to say is Rick Livingston sang with Skunk when he did that super group called The Best. And I don't know if you've seen that, but let me tell you the lineup of that group. It was Joe Walsh, Keith Emerson, Simon Phillips, John Entwistle, and Skunk Baxter, with Rick Livingston singing. So there's a bunch of live stuff out there you can get. They did a DVD back in the 90s where they recorded it in Japan, and it's phenomenal, dude. They're doing all the hits from ELP. They're doing Who songs. They're doing anything Simon Phillips ever played on. They're doing.
Entwistle wrote the Who music.
Yeah, you got all those that you're talking about, and this was a very short-lived band, but man, it was like one of the greatest bands of all time. Look at who you got: Skunk and Joe on guitar, Keith Emerson on keys, Simon Phillips on drums, and John Entwistle. John Entwistle on bass. So, and then at one point they had Zach Starkey, which is Ringo's son, playing drums.
Yeah. Well, he's the drummer for the Who right now.
Right. So it's like,
years,
and you can go check out some of the videos on this, man, and they're doing Steely Dan songs. They're doing all this stuff, and it's phenomenal. And the guy, Rick, that sings this has a great voice. So I don't know why. I wish they would have stayed a band for a little longer. Even though this song sounds a little bit from the 80s and 90s vibe, it's still, his voice is great, and the music was good. So, but then we get to number 12, which is the last song on here, This is just a flat out guitar rocking song, man. I mean, he wanted to end it with a bang, and he did. I mean, he just proved pretty much why he's as good as he is on this song here. So, I mean, to me, what a great record, man. I mean, there was two songs that I could have done without on here. Definitely The Rose was one that I knocked because I hated it. I didn't like it at all. But the rest of the record, man, I mean, I got through it okay, and I was okay with all the other stuff, with the exception of The Rose. But to me, there was a couple things. Sometimes you had that cheesy keyboard sound, that 80s keyboard sound that should never come back. And I didn't care for the couple times they did all the drum programming. I didn't like that at all. But other than that, it's great production, great musicianship, awesome guitar work. I think all the vocal tracks on here were great. They were sung by great singers. And, you know, there's like 2 or 3 songs on here that I really, really liked. So I love this record, man. I think it was a great one for his first solo record. What a record, man, you know? And people that don't know who Skunk is, you've heard him your whole life. He's on stuff that you don't even realize.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
you know, Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, Linda Ronstadt. I mean, there's tons more that we could go into. So,
yeah. Well, see, that's that whole circle that, I mean, it encompasses Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. I mean, you've got James Taylor, Carole King. You know, I mean, it's just all across the map. If you really want the common thread, you know, get with Leland Sklar.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, we do a profile on Skunk. It's going to take just as long as it would have for Leland. So
yeah, Leland Sklar is the one common link, probably with pretty much everything you heard out of the 60s and 70s that was pop oriented and very popular.
And then you throw Waddy in there, man, and you're like, you got everybody.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. You know, there you go. You know, and it's
yeah.
I mean, you cover everything from Paul Revere and the Raiders all the way through to you pick
now,
name it
now. Yeah. Honestly. So, I mean, you're still hearing these guys on records and you don't even know it. So.
And then you got people like Dave Grohl buying that major studio out there in Los Angeles that everybody was getting ready to take a bulldozer and just shove the building down.
Yeah.
And he bought it. And there you go. I mean, what is it? Sun City? Is that the name of it or something like that?
It's one of them. Yeah. I'm not really sure exactly which one, but something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's right there, right in line with Muscle Shoals. And I don't know, Hitsville there and Motown.
Yeah. So,
there you go.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing it, man. They're out there doing it. Well, for me, I gave this one an 8.6. I'm doing another 8.6 on this one. I think it was a great record. I mean, there's a couple songs I could throw away, but I just thought it was fantastic. So
I'll give it an 8 because, you know, the couple places I did hear the program drumming.
Yeah.
That really rubs me wrong. It's like, you know, you reach down to pet your cat and rub the fur backwards. I mean, you pull up a bloody hand after that.
Yeah. Which we might see in one of these videos one day. You never know. But yeah, there's a couple songs on here that I love so much that I'm going to constantly go back to. And that's why I jacked it a little bit, because it had 2 or 3 that, man, I was just like, man, these are great songs. They should be on the radio.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the thing too, though. I really do wish that there was a little bit more of a major outlet for instrumentalists. You know, it's just like earlier, you know, you and I were talking and I was showing you a Roy Gallagher album I picked up.
Yeah.
You know, people have overlooked this man. I mean, and God bless him, he's no longer with us, but.
Well, I'm waiting on you to start that radio station so we can do the Music Talk radio station. I've been waiting on that because I can take care of the East Coast part.
I'm ready to pull the trigger on it.
Well, we need to figure it out so I can do the East Coast time zone, and then you can take over afterwards and work on the West Coast.
So we have 16 hours of music.
Got to find somebody over in England that'll take over the rest.
I don't know. Hey, don't count that out. I got some friends over in England.
Yeah. Anybody interested, let us know, or either just give us a spot on your radio station and we'll take over for a couple hours. You know?
And what's going to change my programming is every 2 weeks I go to Rainy Day Music and buy some used albums.
There you go. A little plug for Rainy Day. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Skunk Baxter's Speed of Heat. And man, what a great record. To me, it's a great guitar record. If you play guitar, you got to buy this for sure. Yeah. And it's got some great songs that everybody will like too.
And look what guitar is he's got in his lap. It's a Stratocaster.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I gave it an 8.6. I gave it an 8.0. So y'all check it out. And until next time, y'all stay safe.
Peace out and listen to the music.